You know, folks, I typically try to stay away from the flat earth versus the round ball debate, but of course, anybody who's been with me a while knows that I used to be a globester, just like everybody. We all started out that way. We all were taught that the earth was a spinning ball. There are just too many things that I have witnessed that tell me differently. Not only with flight patterns and whatnot that make perfect sense on a flat earth, but makes no sense on a spinning ball, but also they claim one of the best evidences that the earth is in fact a ball is the fact that of a lunar eclipse where supposedly the sun is on one side of the earth and the moon is on the other, and the earth comes between the two. And as it does, it casts its shadow upon the moon. However, they have never proven that that is what's going on there. We actually have, since the 15th century, at least 50 different occurrences where the sun and the moon were both seen in the sky above the horizon, and yet this was going on during the lunar eclipse, which is completely and totally impossible to happen unless the earth is in fact a flat plane. Now, this occurrence is known as a selenilian. And a selenilian, they explain from the conventional view, is due to refraction of light, that though the sun and the moon are below the horizon, that the light refraction bends the light about 0.6% or 0.6 degrees, and that results in them being seen above the horizon, even though they're actually below the horizon on opposite directions. Now, they always like to use that idea to try to explain away what we can witness with our eyes. They do the same thing when somebody photographed 60 miles away and got Chicago, perfect picture of Chicago across the Great Lakes, from some 60 miles away, which should not be able to be seen at all on a globe Earth because the whole city would be below the horizon. And they said, well, it's a mirage, and what we're seeing is we're seeing the city due to refraction of light. They always have some kind of a ridiculous, bogus, fake scientific excuse that people who don't think very deeply on these things will accept as, oh, there's their scientific explanation. No, it's a bogus explanation to try to dismiss and explain away what we can actually observe with our own senses and with our own eyeballs. And the fact of the matter is, if a selenilian was occurring because of light refraction, then the moon and the sun appearing over the horizon as it does on these rare occasions, these rare events, would seem distorted because refraction distorts light. So the edges and whatnot would be blurred and whatnot, and they would be distorted in some way when we were looking at them because of the refraction of light, if that were actually what was going on. But they are not distorted. Anytime they've been observed, they had not been distorted. They have been perfectly observable and solid with clear edges, and therefore one needs to understand that the devil is a master liar. God flat says in his word that the earth is hung on nothing, that it is stationary, and it cannot be moved, and that It is basically a flat plane, and it's got a dome over it. And it talks about the dome, I believe, in the book of Job. It's talking about, it's like a fine brass, like fine brass being beaten. It's like a looking glass, almost like fine brass being beaten down, that covers the earth. And God says that He used the firmament and covered the earth as a tent to dwell in. So the flat earth is a fact. And every time really good evidence for a flat earth is given or demonstrated, without exception, they always come up with these ridiculous explanations. Well, it's due to refraction. That's why even though the sun and the moon are below the horizon, you can actually see them both at the same time up in the horizon because of light refraction that bends the light about 0.6 degrees, causing them to be shown above the horizon when in fact they're below. Except for there's no distortion to either one of them, either the moon or the sun. And when you're talking refraction, you're going to have blurry edges. You're going to have distortions in their images because you're not looking at the true. You're looking at a distortion due to bending of light. And bending of light or refraction will always cause a distortion. A perfectly good example is on a hot day, you're seeing the heat rise off of a road, and the stuff behind it is all blurry and distorted. Why? Because the heat is going through heat and cold pockets as the heat's rising, and it causes bending or refraction on a small scale of the light, and that in turn causes distortion of the stuff behind it. So it's like looking through an invisible haze that causes it to distort and fluctuate in its crispiness of what you're actually looking at on the other side. So you won't get a crisp image, you'll get a distorted one. And the same would be true if their explanation of a selenium is also was actually happening. It would be distorted, and it would be obviously distorted. So their explanation, though in the minds of the simple seem reasonable, is just absolutely not a fact. Do a little bit of study on what happens to things that are seen through refraction. It always distorts. We see the same thing with water. You stick a pen or a pencil in water, it'll distort the image and it'll shift it. But it will also enlarge it, and it will make it distorted somehow. So anytime refraction of light is occurring and you're seeing an image because of refraction of light, it's going to be distorted. It's not going to look like it would in its natural state because you're looking at because of the refraction, you're looking at a reflection of it and not the thing itself.